When Julia did not protest, Lucas slowly started caressing her delicate parts. Julia was wondering herself that she was letting him do all this. Maybe at that moment she was only under the control of human emotions. After some time, Lucas started pressing Julia's limbs lightly, and then, "Guys, you are all welcome." She was lying comfortably in her bedroom. If it was a normal day, her mother-in-law would have definitely taunted her, but today the atmosphere of the house was different. Everyone was very happy, and so was Julia. There was going to be some relief in household chores from today. She was a simple homemaker, but such was her beauty that everyone could be fascinated by him. She had been married for 7 years, and before marriage she was working in a multinational company. But after marriage, she had to give up everything. Because her in-laws had a large house, and their only son, her husband, took care of everything alone. Today was a special day for her. Everyone was happy, but there was a strange knock in Julia's mind. When she was in the room alone, she remembered an incident from 2 months ago. That day she was sitting in the bus, and was sleeping. Suddenly she felt a strange touch on her hand. As soon as she looked, it was Lucas's hand. At first she thought that maybe he was sleeping and accidentally his hand came on her hand, but when she tried to sleep again, after some time Lucas's hand started sliding on her hand again. At that time Julia was wearing a sleeveless blouse, which exposed her hand. She understood that this is not a mistake, but Lucas is doing it intentionally. He had touched her unknowingly a couple of times before, but this was the first time he had dared to do so. Julia had gone to attend a wedding at her parents' house at that time, and was now returning to her husband's hometown. Actually, her husband was also going to come along, but he was not particularly interested in these marriages. And he wasn't feeling well, so he sent Julia alone. They had planned to go by flight, but had to return early from maternal home, and so did not get a flight ticket. Then Julia took a ticket for the sleeper bus, but did not get a single berth in it, so she booked 2 tickets. Then Julia's sister said that Lucas also has to go to same town too, so take him along with her. In this way, Julia's sister sent Lucas with her. Lucas was her sister's nephew, and had met him many times before. Lucas always used to treat Julia well, so this time also everyone was satisfied that Lucas was going with Julia. But taking advantage of the loneliness in the bus, Lucas started putting his hand on Julia's hand. Julia thought that perhaps the hand must have slipped accidentally, and it would be limited to this. But Lucas showed more courage. At that time Julia did not say anything, and pretended to sleep. But inside she was feeling everything. Lucas was young, about 25 years old, and Julia knew that he was also good to look at. Julia was also aware of her beauty. She knew Lucas was attracted to her. He always looked at her differently. Probably because Julia's body still looked tight and attractive. Although Julia was now middle-aged, but the impact of her fitness and figure, it still affected people. When she stood among few people, her beauty would have a profound effect on everyone, and this feeling enlightened her from inside. A strangely proud feeling. I used to do it. Whenever someone adores her beauty, praiseworthy, or if attracted to her, then inside her, the light blows. There was a wave of happiness. When Lucas makes her have fun during the wedding, or sometimes lightly touched, Julia used to enjoy it. Many times he took pleasure from the light through eyes and touch, but Julia never paid much attention to this. Lucas in the crowded of the wedding house. Sometimes he would touch her shoulders lightly. So ever her fragile tries to touch places. Sometimes unintentionally, sometimes deliberately. His hand would collide with Julia's body, and she would shake him off. It was only yesterday, Julia was changing clothes in a room of the wedding house. The door, it was slightly closed. Then suddenly, Lucas came in. Julia at that time was wearing a sari. Julia was terrified when she came in. She did not understood, for a moment, what to do. She stood without taking her palo, loose end of sari, and kept looking at Lucas, then Lucas's gaze. It was also on those parts of his body, which he looked inside. Blissfully, when Julia realized where Lucas was looking, she quickly put on the palu. Lucas said sorry and left the room. Suddenly, the next day Julia had to go back to her place, and at the behest of her sister. Lucas was also taken along. Julia also had no objection in going with Lucas, because someone was needed to accompany her in the bus journey, so both of them went together. They got the upper twin berth in the bus. Tired of the hustle and bustle of marriage, Julia and Lucas lay down on the bus, with each other, a little. By creating a distance. Julia was towards the window, while Lucas was lying outside. When 4 to 5 hours passed since the bus was moving, then all the lights went off, now, just the light coming from outside. Only light rays were coming in. With the light coming from the window, Julia was not sleeping, so she pulled the window curtains. Tried it, but a curtain was stuck. Then Lucas helped to pull the curtain with his hand. Then his hand touched Julia's shoulder lightly. I don't know why. That light touch made Julia feel something different. Lucas finally closed the curtain, and since it was too cold inside, Julia asked Lucas to remove the veil from his bag. Then Lucas said, why the covering? There is a blanket to cover in the bus, is it not? Julia did not say on this. I find the blanket of the bus guy weird. Then Lucas opened the bag to remove the covering, and accidentally came out of Julia's innerwear. Julia laughed at this, quickly hid it, and Lucas also started laughing. Then he quickly took out the cover from the bag. After a while, Julia fell asleep while chatting, but after a while suddenly she woke up and felt Lucas slowly stroking her body. Then Julia made no movement and pretended to sleep. Such is Lucas's courage. It grew. And now he began to squeeze Julia's hand lightly. After a while he withdrew his hand. Meanwhile, the bus was moving in a quiet atmosphere. Julia felt that maybe now Lucas is bored. But then she realized it. Lucas's hand is sliding under his cover. He was probably thinking that Julia was in a deep sleep, so his courage increased. Julia now has her fearless antics. But she was surprised, but he still. She said nothing, and lay quietly. Then Lucas removed her veil, gently put his hand on her stomach, and slowly started moving it near her sides. In a short time his courage increased, and he stretched her hand further. Touched the delicate parts of the flame. He was caressing her cheek now, without hesitation. Julia was surprised, wanted to do something. But still she did not stop him. Maybe. At that time she also started to like his touch. He stopped for some time waiting for her reaction. When Julia did not protest, Lucas slowly started caressing her delicate parts. Julia was wondering at herself that she was letting him do all this. Maybe at that moment she was just under the control of human emotions. After some time, Lucas started pressing Julia's limbs lightly. And then the protective mind began to get lost in strange emotions. Touch it. Julia felt very familiar, and she understood that her body was also ready for his touch. That was why she didn't try to stop him. His movements were so slow and restrained, like some beautiful music, which would blow your mind. In this touch of Lucas, Julia started forgetting herself. She forgot that her sick husband was waiting for her at home. She forgot that she was someone's wife. At that time, she was just a woman who felt the need to have someone's love. Maybe Lucas was also thinking that Julia was in a deep sleep, or maybe he knew that Julia remained unaware of everything. Both of these situations gave him the courage to go further. So now Lucas put his hand on the buttons of Julia's blouse and started trying to open it neatly. He snapped his fingers. He slid inside and slowly opened the button of the blouse. Now all Lucas's fingers were inside her, and Julia started liking this step of his. As soon as his fingers went in, a slight sound came out from Julia. Then Lucas got the green signal from her reaction. He grabbed Julia tightly from behind, and their bodies clasped together. With this action of Lucas, Julia's body started feeling a strange thrill, and he started touching her body even more fearlessly. Julia was completely aroused. In the darkness, they were both in their own world. And there was no fear of anyone finding out about them. Julia felt deep inside that she should go further. Because till now only touch was going on between them. Seeing this attitude of Julia, Lucas had probably sensed her intention. He gently removed her hair and started running his hand on the back of her open blouse. Julia had now handed herself into Lucas's hands, then suddenly the bus stopped, and the driver announced that the bus would stay for just 15 minutes to eat. Then Lucas quickly separated, and Julia also quickly adjusted her clothes. Lucas blushed a little and said, "Sorry, let's eat something." Then the light drew him closer and whispered in his ear. "Why? Not full of food? Don't like this hotel food. Now, have some appetite. Have go to, and take the test again." You then, Lucas got down happily, and extended his hand to help Julia to get down. They both got off the bus like that. Like a new girlfriend. And boyfriend. She walks with her hand in his hand. Restaurants. While moving towards him, his eyes met, and Julia saw a different glow in Lucas's eyes. Now Lucas was looking at Julia not with lustful eyes, but with love. They ordered food, and they were playing with their hands in each other's hands until the food arrived. Julia was also enjoying all this. After a while she asked Lucas, "Do you not have a girlfriend?" On this, Lucas looked at Julia and laughed and said that it was not yet. "Now it is." Then Julia was shocked and asked, "Who is she?" "And you are going to meet her." Then Lucas smiled and said, "She is sitting in front of me." "Where to go to meet her?" Julia laughed loudly at this joke and said, "You are very funny," then started asking further, "Will she have a name?" Then Lucas smiled and said, "You know her name." Julia laughed and said, "Hey, Lucas, now you call me Julia. You just said no, and what are you talking about here? Where did you put your hand and now you are behaving here?" Lucas laughed and said, "Julia, you are very cute," laughing. "I can't look at you. That you deserve to be called auntie. Your body is still very young, there. She is fit and attractive." After hearing this, Julia said, "Stop hitting these butterings. I'm not used to hearing these things anymore. I will show you something else when I return to the bus. Eat quickly." Then Lucas said, "I will give the bill, you go in the bus." Julia was trying to stop him. But he did not listen to her and went to the counter to pay the bill. Here Julia went to the bus and stood in front of the mirror. There was a different glow on Julia's face today, but a thought also came to her mind. Is what I'm doing right? Or should it stop? Yet her lust, which Lucas had awakened, could not stop it. Even after returning home, this hunger was not going to be satisfied until her husband was recovered well. Then Julia thought to herself, there is no question of going back now. With this determination Julia sat in the bus. She was waiting for Lucas outside the window. As soon as Lucas came, Julia reached out her hand and signaled her to board the bus. Then Lucas started putting curtains. Then Julia stopped him and said, "Wait a little, when the bus starts moving on the road, then drive your car, but remember. Harsh push. I don't like it at all." After a few minutes, at that moment, Julia felt completely that she had absorbed that life juice given by Lucas. Now they were both tired. Being on the bus, they had not been able to overcome all the obstacles, but still it seemed as if they had reached another world. They fixed their clothes, they gave their bodies to sleep. In the morning, his eyes were opened by the sound of the checker of the bus. He was saying that check your luggage, the first stop of the town is going to come in half an hour. Then Lucas looked at me and said, "I have to get down at the first stop." On this, I said, "Let's go home, freshen up and go. I will tell our driver, he will drop you where you want to go." Then Lucas said, "No, my friend's room is nearby, and I have to go from there, to give an interview in a company." Then Lucas held Julia's hand and said, "Thank you. The journey with you was so good." He again embraced Julia, and started kissing her. Then overcoming a few obstacles, Julia again absorbed his life juice. After that, when Lucas's stop came, he got down from the bus. While getting down from the bus, Julia said, "Best of luck" to him for his interview. As soon as Lucas got down from the bus, Julia started watching him going. From the window, his face was full of confidence, and a light smile was playing on his lips. There was a slight uneasiness in Julia's mind then, but the satisfaction of living that moment gave her peace. What happened between the two of them? That was the new beginning of any relationship, or? Then maybe, just experience that moment. But one thing was certain, that moment would always be in the heart and mind of Julia and Lucas. Then the bus started moving, and Julia got lost in her thoughts. Those moments spent with Lucas, now a part of her memories, touched the depth of her eyes. And his style was everything, like it was still with her. Julia understood that what had happened was part of a journey. A journey that made her want her own desires. Introduced to her, with desires she had never felt, after a while, Julia reached her destination. As soon as she reached home, Julia started flooding her mind with thoughts. Was it all right? Did I push myself beyond my limits? But still she asked herself a question, do I regret it? Then she had the answer, no, I did what my heart told me. She told me to. And that experience had given me a new identity, she thought that. That confident face of Lucas was forever etched in Julia's mind, his laughter and his words, and that magical night. It became a never-ending memory for her. This journey was probably just a turning point for both of them, but for Julia. This turning point was going to open new paths of her life. So, life always gives us a turn where we rediscover ourselves. Maybe that journey with Lucas was a way for Julia to understand herself. Knowing your desires and limitations, and now the journey was over, but its imprint will always be with the light. After all this, Julia took a deep breath, and sweet memories of that journey. Holding him in her heart, she was ready to move forward on the new path of her life. Not every journey is necessary to end by going to a destination. Some journeys are just to introduce us to ourselves, and that was the beauty of the experience that introduced Lucas and Julia to themselves. This was our little story for today. Story. How did it feel? Please tell me in the comments. And if, for the first time in the channel, then subscribe to the channel too, to listen such exciting stories further. Subscribe to the channel, then, see you in a new story. Thank you.